And so Maria will wait for a start from you. And before we proceed. So who's not enjoying summer? Okay, I take that as a vote of confidence. I didn't ask you what you've been doing. I don't want secrets.
It's dry, Bruce, and some rain.
Yeah, it's a tough crowd tonight, eh, Ryan?
Yeah.
Bruce, are you ready for me to hit record, or do you want to do a little
go ahead.
preamble?
Put it down into posterity.
All right, folks, we are going live.
Well, good evening, members of the Green Committee, Grimsby staff, and members of the audience, wherever you might be. And we hope that all is well. And there's Councillor Sharp joining in with us. Good evening, Councillor Sharp, and thanks for joining us at this time, because now I think we have quorum for this meeting without debate. And before I get called to order, see Henry's here, Ryan Day's here, my Councillor Sharp, and myself. We do have regrets from Aaron Holko. Aaron will not be with us this evening, and this evening is our last meeting of the Grimsby Green Committee, as I understand it, for the main reason is that September 6th is the last meeting of council, and so committees like Grimsby Green, Grimsby Active are no longer active after the September 6th. So here we are. So first of all, I'd like to know if there's anybody that has they'd like to declare a conflict of interest or disclosure of pecuniary interest with the agenda this evening. Seeing no hands, I think we're all free to proceed. Like a motion for approval of the agenda. Could I have a hand up for a mover and a seconder, please? Ryan, move. Second by Henry. Thank you, gentlemen. And the next item on the agenda is current items update. And first one is idling bylaw draft. I have on the agenda here presented by H. I'm going to pronounce the last name probably incorrectly. Bozy, please correct me, Henry, if I'm wrong.
Just like the sound system. Just with an extra E at the end.
All right. So welcome, Henry. Henry, you're with the Town of Grimsby staff, are you?
That is correct. So I'm currently the coordinator of municipal law enforcement for the town. So bylaw enforcement and parking enforcement.
All right. Thank you for that background. And welcome to our small group this evening. And I believe you are going to present to us the draft idling bylaw. And that has been received by us for review prior to your presentation. And so please go ahead, and then after your short presentation, we'll see if any of the committee members have questions.
For sure. So I wanted to bring forward this idling control bylaw to the Grimsby Green Committee just to ensure that we have the support of this committee, because this is a bylaw to help battle climate change just by stopping cars from idling. And so the basic prowess of the bylaw is to ensure that our staff and myself are trying to stop idling through education at first, and then going step by step through enforcement. But our main goal with this is to get the word out about the idling bylaw and to have this in effect so that we can educate as many residents and visitors to stop idling within the town of Grimsby. So It's pretty self-explanatory. There is some temperature differences. So if it's anything below 5 degrees, the idling bylaw is not in effect because of heat required for safety. And then the same thing when temperatures get too hot. So with anything higher than 27 degrees Celsius. With that, we still want to make sure that the residents are being safe, and this will be kind of more of a proactive / reactive bylaw that we will try to educate as many people. And we are hoping to, as soon as this comes to council and hopefully gets approved, we are looking to do some sort of media presentation on our Facebook and maybe in the paper as well, just to ensure that we get out to as many residents as possible. So I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments you have about the bylaw, because I'd love to get your input.
Well, thank you very much. So members of the committee, anybody have any questions or comments for Henry? Ryan, Councillor Sharp, Henry. Okay. Well, I think as you said, Henry, this is pretty self-explanatory. To myself, I was pleased to see this. I thought there already was a provincial idling bylaw. I didn't realize it was up to the individual municipalities, because I bet you, and you can correct me, that this bylaw that's in front of us tonight is parallel with many other municipalities in the province. I don't think you reinvented the wheel here.
No, so basically, when I wrote this bylaw, I benchmarked with a lot of bigger and smaller municipalities to try to gauge, and then also reaching out to a lot of the managers and supervisors of bylaw enforcement for other municipalities to see if they've had any issues, and to try to fix those issues with our bylaw, basically creating the most updated standards across the board to ensure that we don't run into any hiccups along the way, and that we make sure that we're covering all scopes and all exemptions.
All right. Could I have a motion from the floor to support the bylaw for idling as presented by staff this evening?
Bruce, if I may, I do have one question real quickly. Sorry.
Yes. Who's speaking?
It's Henry Collin.
Oh, sorry, Henry. I didn't see your lips move.
Yeah, sorry.
Video delay.
Yeah, no problem. Just looking at the exemptions,
Yeah.
Henry. What about drive-throughs? Because we have a bunch in town, and a lot of times people will be idling there for more than 3 minutes. Does that take into account?
Yes, I believe I did put that in here. I'm just taking.
Right, I see. Okay, I see it now. Yeah. Oh, right after N. Okay. Yeah. Traveling through a drive-through. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
I got one question too, Bruce.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Just wondering how many actually bylaw officers are working in enforcement, and do you actually have ever enforced the bylaw, like by any tickets whatsoever? Does it ever come?
So just as a clarification, this bylaw in front of you, like an idling type of bylaw. So. Yes. So within the town of Grimsby, we have not issued any tickets for this. This is we are starting off on a more of an educational approach. Is kind of what I want to do. I don't want to be fines heavy. I want to give people the appropriate amount of time to make sure that they understand this bylaw is in place. So that's where advertising on Facebook, in the newspaper, to try, and then also. Having anybody contact us if they have any questions. And then, speaking to our current staffing, it is myself with 2 contract officers. So this will be a big educational piece for them as well. And I will make sure that this is only an educational piece for the current time being, because our goal in the end is to try to combat climate change through this anti-idling bylaw.
Okay. Thank you, Henry.
Thank
I just
you,
have
Henry.
one question.
1 second, Councillor Sharp. Ryan,
Yeah.
did you have a subsequent question? I wasn't sure whether you had your hand up.
Oh, no, I'm pretty good.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you, Henry.
Darren. Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Henry, I just want to ask, do we have problems with people that are idling, and what type of, who's idling? And I know I don't leave my car running, and for simply financial reasons, but what are the problems that we have with idling? Are there any current problems with people idling?
So currently we have received a few complaints about vehicles idling on private property. So for example, their driveways in the morning. This is more prevalent during the winter, and obviously there's a purpose behind it in the winter, but we still do get some complaints when it is between that 5-degree and 27-degree range. So this is to also try to assist as many complaints from the members of the public. So, but a larger scale issue, because we don't have a bylaw in force, I don't say that we have a lot of complaints, but this is something when we get more of an educational approach, more and more people will know, so more and more people will be calling. So I'm hoping that we can educate more and more people.
Thank you, Henry. Does that satisfy your question, Councillor Sharp?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to go back to my original request. Is there...
Excuse me, Chair. I think
yes.
Olivia has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Olivia. Go ahead.
I think also just to add on to what Henry said is that I think a lot of people are idling, but maybe not be aware of the problem it does cause. So we're hoping that with this bylaw, it just kind of makes people kind of a bit aware of their of the impacts that idling does have, and the small difference of just turning their car off, what it can do to the Grimsby environment.
Well, thank you very much, Olivia. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion from the floor for this committee to show support of this draft bylaw, moved by Councillor Sharp, seconded by Ryan, Member Day, and any discussion of the motion? Okay, all in favor? Just raise your hand, please. Good, pass.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Henry, thank you for being with us, and thank you for your work that you've done ahead of time. I think I can speak easily for the committee that this is the kind of initiative that we are looking for from the town. And I think a big part of what you're going to be doing from an educational point of view would be set as an example. And you mentioned staff, bringing staff on. I've seen a number of agencies or communities where their idling policy is on the truck. And I would certainly encourage the town to possibly look at marketing or promotion of green initiatives. You know, the Grimsby, the Greenway, anti-idling or whatever. I'll leave that to people, wordsmiths. But I hope, pardon the background noise here, somebody's voting against this motion, it seems. Or they're applauding with a horn. And so, best of success. This will now go to council. I look forward to hearing about this. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next presentation. And the next one is on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is procurement presentation, equipment life cycle replacement. And I see Adrian Marini.
Hi.
I hope I'm pronounced.
You are.
Good.
So my name is Adrian Marini. I am the procurement manager for the town of Grimsby.
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So I got the information that it was resolved that the procurement manager be invited to the GGAC meeting to provide information on the procurement policies regarding to equipment life cycle replacement of environmentally friendly purchases. bit of a loaded question there. What I can speak to right now is the process in terms of what's listed in the bylaws and what's currently being done with our fleet, and more information can be gathered from our operations manager. I wouldn't be able to speak 100% to our current fleet and all that, but I did get some information before coming here. So what I'll do, just so that we can kind of get on the same page, is I'll provide you with the purposes and goals from environmental friendliness in our procurement bylaw and what's listed there. And then I can give you a bit of a rundown in terms of our fleet vehicles and what we try to do from a very high level. Otherwise, if there's any other questions, I can either take them back and try and get more, or get you in contact with the correct person. Is that okay?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. So in our procurement bylaw, the last purpose, goals, or objective of the bylaw is to encourage the purchase of goods and services with due regard to the preservation of the natural environment. As you can probably be aware, with certain things that those purchases can happen, but for other things, for example, like water mains, I'm just kind of spitballing now, but that obviously there might not be an environmentally friendly option in a sense. That might be a bad example, but going into further into the bylaw, it says environmentally sound acquisitions. Departments will endeavor to include specifications in solicitation documents that provide for energy efficient products, reusable products, and products that contain the maximum level of post-consumer waste and or recyclable content without significantly affecting the intended use of the product or service. It is recognized that the cost analysis is required in order to ensure that the products are competitively priced. Okay, and obviously with that purposes and goals, there are others, and sometimes you're going to have to do that balancing act. So is there any questions so far in terms of the procurement bylaw? No? Okay. So in terms of our vehicle life cycle, and I did gather this information again from a colleague, basically for our vehicles, we aim to have a 10-year life cycle for vehicles and equipment. The town always resells to the used market, so we don't directly send it to a scrapyard. It is after that 10-year life cycle, it's usually resold to somebody else through an auction market. And then what gauges those decisions is usually based on the subject matter expertise of our in-house mechanic, or it can be tied to the maintenance or the cost of the market. So as you guys may or may not be aware, it's hard to buy a new vehicle and get it delivered on time. So those are kind of the things right now that are taken into consideration. I know in one of your previous meeting minutes, you talked about the electric fleet. And Olivia mentioned to me that we do, obviously, Parks and Rec does have one electric vehicle. In terms of our big fleet users being Parks and Rec and Public Works, we have been looking at it in terms of trucks. However, there's a lot of skepticism in terms of how environmentally friendly they are, two, the recycling of the battery, and three, especially for trucks and how much heavy usage they go through, is it going to be enough for what we need in terms of like the day-to-day operations or whatever is utilized. So the questions are being asked. At the moment, it's we do have actually a fleet RFT, which is a request for tender out for trucks. They are gas trucks, just to obviously say that. However, the conversation is happening. To go into other procurements, I know you guys, I can't assume, but for the PKC, we do want to have initiatives in there that there is not LEED certifications, but LEED-like things that, help us with that energy reduction. And we are going through facility assessments and stuff. So the conversations are being had. It's just, I didn't know exactly where you guys were going with your question. So hopefully that kind of gives you an overview of what we're doing and that there is conversation or surrounding it. So I'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Adrian. Members of the committee, anybody have questions or comments at this time? Henry Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Great job, Adrian. I'm glad to hear that the town has some guidance and some language on energy and environmentally friendly products. I would encourage them to maybe update that a little more with adding sustainability, because energy efficiency and carbon reduction can be two different things. Energy efficiency could be LED light bulbs. Carbon could be getting off of natural gas fired equipment. When we discussed it as a committee before, I think what we were really looking for is where it makes sense, where the technology is proven. Gas, or instead of buying gas weed trimmers, go to electric chainsaws. Totally understand that tractors and heavy equipment, trucks and vans, et cetera, the technology is not quite there for battery or even hybrid, but for pool vehicles, certainly driving around town for bylaw enforcement and things like that, that's just like pretty much a passenger vehicle that we would drive. Certainly should make sense to at least look at a hybrid or electric. So it's good to move in that direction. And I'm kind of curious if there's any policy that applies to facilities, because I know where I work, we're moving away from gas-fired rooftop units. We're going to electric air source heat pump. It's a bit of a bold move because you still have to have a little bit of a gas backup. But I'm just looking to maybe push the town to the next level when it comes to reducing carbon.
So in terms of that, I can't say I am super knowledgeable to give you an 100% answer. However, I can say that again for Parks and Rec, with that getting updated, and there has been looking at different things. Like I know we have replaced all the light bulbs in the PKC with the LEDs, and they are looking at changing out. It's going to be within the next few years because obviously there's going to be a lot of construction, but I don't even know what the actual machine's called, but it runs on ammonia. So even reducing that. So there is talks, especially, and we are going through a facility assessments right now, especially for the corporation, to look at what is out there. So again, I can't promise you anything that right now there's no policies, or I don't know of any offhand, but things are, in a sense, from a facility point of view, happening. In terms of the electric tools, I will talk to my colleague about that and try and get back to you. I know in terms of inventory, we try and maintain similar makes and models so that, if you have to fix something, you don't have to have a very wide range of inventory, and that's carrying costs are a big problem. So I can definitely talk to that. And I know I'm fairly sure the town is very, we have used, why can't I think of the name? They're right off the highway for our equipment needs, but I'm so sorry. I'm having clearly
That's all right. That's
John
all right.
Deere?
Yes, John Deere. I kept thinking green, and I'm like, it's not green. My apologies. So like I know, for example, and especially supporting our local businesses that are in the town, like that's something that's happening there. So, and in terms of being a subject matter expert, I do facilitate the procurement process, but the subject matter experts in terms of what they need for those specifications, like I do obviously push back here and there to say, can we do this? Can we do that? I love being devil's advocate for anyone who does know me. So I can bring that up with them and just see that. But yeah, we can definitely push for the pool vehicles and whatnot, which I believe we don't have. We're replacing a lot of the fleet that's out there right now for the RFT is all trucks. However, for that 10-year life cycle for the pool vehicles, I think in the next couple of years there might be one or two. We don't have too many pool vehicles, a lot of trucks.
Thank you, Adrian. Are any other questions? Okay, Adrian, just to help sum things up for myself, first of all, this is our last meeting as the Green Committee under this term of council, and we as individuals, we can certainly follow up with you or other members of the staff, but the committee will not be. We as a committee have been hoping to speak to you or somebody representing your office for a long time. At most meetings, we speak of electrification of the fleet and other opportunities to reduce greenhouse gases. So I'm glad to hear that you are talking about it. But we hope that this can take place fairly quickly. Henry mentioned about bylaw officer vehicles. Those to me would be the simplest ones to replace with electric vehicles. And I think it would be well received by the town if some of your vehicles were turned in, sold, and replaced with electric vehicles, possibly before the normal life cycle, to show the town is taking a step forward. I don't think we should wait 10 years, because in 10 years' time, the town won't have a choice about buying non-electric vehicles. They won't be available. So we would like to see a progressive stance. And you mentioned cost of the vehicle. Where an electric vehicle or machine might be more costly in terms of the purchase price, I think the town might look at creating a formula for the carbon footprint of that vehicle. So even though an electric vehicle the price sticker might be a little higher, that may be a very justifiable expenditure compared to buying an internal combustion engine. So I'd like to leave those thoughts with you. Wish you the best of success. If we were to have another committee meeting, I would certainly be asking for that fleet manager to speak to us, but through you and members of council, Councillor Sharp, we hope that the message of this committee will precipitate through your office as a note of support for any endeavors that puts the town of Grimsby in a better light towards an environmental policy, and your office plays a big part. And just a minute ago, you said you like to challenge staff about why not, or can we do this differently, or can we do this better? I think that is some of the freshest words I've heard in a long time. I hope that you can continue to do that, and hopefully with your procurement strategies and formulas, that a green Grimsby can be part of those formulas and strategies. So unless there's other comments or questions from the committee members, I don't see any hands.
I actually just have a question. So you did mention you were trying to get a hold of my office for a very long time. Could you, so I started with the town in September of last year. I don't know, the first time I heard from Olivia about this was maybe in May.
Yeah, yes, I'd like to maybe correct myself for just
okay.
a second. We've been looking for information from town staff for quite a while. And now Olivia has invited you to the meeting, and this is welcome. We didn't know who to talk to.
Okay.
But we wanted to talk to somebody, and I think we're talking to the right person this evening, because you are involved, as you know, with every purchase. So if you have that big green question mark on the wall of your office, so that when everybody comes into your office with a request, we hope they see a green question mark. And I'd like to leave it like that, and I hope that answers your question.
Okay, no, that does, definitely. I just didn't want to make it seem like you guys were trying to, that I was ignoring you guys since you've had a long time. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
We just were looking for the key. I think your office is the key to start this process because every department has to work with you. And so you're what might call a gatekeeper, or what I'd like to call the environment keeper. So thank you. Olivia, you've got a hand up there on your screen.
I
Do
know
see a
I
hand?
don't.
Oh, okay. It's different from the other hand. This one's white. Oh, wait a minute. That's my cursor. And all of a sudden, instead of a pointer, I'll put it on myself. Okay, so Olivia does not have a question. I'd like to thank you very much, Adrian, for being with us. And we, kind of hope that the Green Committee will start again with the new term of council, and that you can be a vital part of the Green Committee. So welcome.
Thank you.
On behalf of
Thanks for the
whoever's
time.
here in 6 months' time.
Yeah. Thanks guys
Thanks
so
very
much.
much. Okay.
Thanks, Adrian.
The next, first of all, I'd like to have a motion to receive the presentation that Adrian presented tonight. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Henry. And the seconder, Ryan. And all in approval? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Green Awards. Member Pankhurst was to present this evening, but she's not with us. Olivia, can you help us with this, or do we skip this agenda item?
We may have to skip it just because I'm not sure that they have met to go over the nominees. I know there were 2 that were brought forward, so maybe we should wait for Haley to be back, and I can work with her and we can figure out a way to acknowledge the nominees.
Right. Thank you for that. And in the consideration that this committee will not be meeting again, I'm hoping that Haley can continue to work with your office as a citizen, as an individual, and that the initiative will carry on with its momentum. And because I think that was one program that was able to get started and pretty well come to completion under this term. So we look forward to seeing this being completed, and we are relying now on staff pretty well to put this to bed or to complete it. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Main Street East Heritage Conservation District. Our representative, our chair, is not with us this evening. So Olivia, do we skip this agenda item?
Yes, I will.
All right. Thank you. And through just a question of common interest through you or to Councillor Sharp, when will this conservation district study, if I may call it, when is it expected to be complete, or will the public hear more about it as to the direction it's taking? Do we have any answer to that, Olivia or Councillor Sharp?
I'm not sure, but I can reach out and try to get some more information and email it after this meeting.
Well, that would be fine. And simply, if it was part of the minutes, that would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
very
I'm
much.
also not completely aware, but I think that because it's being done as a part of the that secondary plan, the Main Street East secondary plan, I imagine that they'll come part and parcel together as one whole piece.
Councillor, is it the intention of this council to have this completed during this term, or is this a project that's going to continue into the next term?
I think it'll continue into the next term.
Okay, thanks very much.
Probably early in the next term, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
I just pulled up the website for the page just to double check, and it looks like they're going to be hosting a public information session on September 15th. So it's through Zoom. So I can send the link for this website or include it in the minutes so that people can check it out following the meeting.
Thank you, Olivia, for that very quick update. Okay, so our next agenda items are under staff updates. I think that from the emails I've seen, staff, Olivia, you may be the only staff person working this week. So the floor is yours, and we'll start with the Npca restoration grant. Can you?
Okay.
I think these are updates.
Yes. So for the Mpca restoration grant, we received the funding in collaboration with Mpca and also the TD tree program for community planting that will be on October 1st from 9 a.m. until noon at 40 Mile Creek. So we're kind of working on a revitalization of that area, starting with that open field, just so that it doesn't get interrupted with some of the construction for the bridge in the future. So once we have more information about how to sign up, if the community would like to volunteer for the planting, I'll make sure to send that out.
Thank you, Olivia. The Recreation Trails Master Plan.
As we touched in the previous meeting, we had received some feedback and it was brought forward to council to potentially add the rail trail to the scope of work for the master plan. So that was approved by council, and the consultants have taken that away and they're doing the feasibility study, and they're hoping to wrap that up sometime in the fall. So the purpose of the draft and final report will be to kind of have that full and realistic implementation strategy for sound staff to consolidate and finalize, and then just kind of help prioritize the trails planning in the future.
All right, and thank you. You mentioned rail trail. Are we talking one of the extension of the DeFasco trail, or where are we talking about? What's the rail trail?
I will send the presentation that was at the, I think it was a June council meeting. A delegation brought it forward. It was an idea that they've been working through. They have a planned route along the active CN railway, but since we have received quite a bit of comments from the community, we thought it was worthwhile to include that feasibility study to see if we were able to even kind of proceed with that route.
All right, thank you very much. Members of the committee, what I'd like to do is, and I've just broke my own rule, is hold on. Maybe we should just deal with questions with each item. That way we don't forget where we are. That way I didn't break my own rule. So members of the committee, any questions on the Trails Master Plan update? All right, seeing none. Casablanca waterfront design update, Olivia.
Yeah, so just a brief update, but the RFP is now posted on Vincent Tenders. So I believe that wraps up at the end of the month. So that will be looking for a company to be awarded with a contract that will kind of take on the park construction, and then hoping to start that by the end of September.
All right. Any questions, committee members? Okay, I have one. Olivia, during construction, and this goes from, my question goes from Hunter Road to almost the water treatment plant, the east end of the trail. Is it anticipated that the trail will be closed during construction, e.g., or will the construction be done in phases where sections of the trail will be closed? And if it is closed, how long for?
So part of the tender package that they'll be submitting is also, it will include a construction plan. So we're hoping that that will help us outline kind of what is possible with keeping the trail open, and then also just kind of making sure that all residents are informed of the upcoming disruptions in the park. So there'll be more information to come on that.
Well, thank you very much. Quite pleased to hear you emphasize about keeping the public informed as to what may be or not be in front of them. That's really important. Okay, 40 Mile Bridge. Been on it. don't have the T-shirt yet, but please go ahead, Olivia.
So the RFP for the 40-mile bridge is closed, and the bidder has been awarded the contract to start the design of the pedestrian bridge. So from my understanding, the timeline of the work is for the design to be completed and ready for review by the end of the year.
Now,
So
I
it'll be
have-
brought forward to council at the end of the year.
All right, I have to apologize. In my mind, when I saw 40-mile bridge, I thought we were talking about the bridge that's completed on the south side, closer to Beamer Falls.
The Gibson Street Bridge.
Gibson Street Bridge. So you're referring to that, what I call the swayback wooden bridge down by the mouth of 40 Creek.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, all right. Thanks very much. I'll change rubber boots or take the foot out of my mouth. And is there a budget with that that's been approved by council, or is this at a design stage to figure out how much it will cost?
So from my understanding, there's a budget for the design and the contract work from there. And I'm not sure of what that amount is.
Oh, all right. Questions, comments from the committee on the 40-mile bridge project?
Comments. I have a couple comments. I'm excited to see that part of the bridge get completed. It connects the pump house through downtown and essentially up to the Beamer Point, but it also connects to people that live along Lake Street to the pump house. It's an asset. It's a nice little trail. I think many of you have probably been down there, and it'll be nice to replace that bridge. And so I'm pretty sure that there isn't any money in the budget. So I think we'll be seeking grant money. I know we got around 275,000 grant for the bridge at Gibson Street, and I think we'll probably look for some kind of support from the province for that. I don't know any details about that, but these bridges tend to be fairly expensive, and and so we do find support for those costs.
All right. Well, thank you, Councillor Sharp, for that. And you've always been a strong supporter of the 40 Creek environment and the 40 Creek user environment, and that is appreciated. And I'm pleased to see that this bridge question mark has come up for approval by council so quick. I think the path has been pretty quick on this whole thing, and yeah, it's going to take a lot of money to put it through. It's a part of the town that really deserves gold treatment, and it hasn't been getting that for some time. So carry on, Councillor Sharp, keep pushing that that area.
On that note, the next thing we want to get to is that pier. The pier needs some improvements down there. That's an even more expensive ticket, but that'll be federal money because it's in the lake. But there's a lot of improvements that could really bring that park up to be used by the community. We have a wonderful park down there at the pump house, and
well, we hope that we'll all be along to watch this progression take place, and the pier, that's another subject, whether it's possible or not, depending on financing and coastal engineer design. There's a lot of opportunities to enhance, as you know, the user opportunities at our lake shores all along the lakefront community that we live in. Okay, Olivia, TD Tree Days, Southward Park. When, where, how, why? I know why.
Yes, so we applied for another TD Tree Day grant at Southward Park. So this will be the 5th year of tree planting up there. So that will happen on October 15th. And then since TD is sponsoring the event, we are looking forward to partnering with some of the local employees to help with that planting.
With the local I didn't hear
local
that.
TD employees.
TD, because they've always participated well in the past.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think the past 2 years, because of the COVID restrictions, actually we had some staff plantings. So we've still been able to get lots of trees in the ground, but we'll be excited to be working again with the local TD employees.
Very good. Thank you. The next item is grass mowing update.
Yes, so I'm going to share my screen quickly. So I just wanted to give a quick update. I know this has been on the agenda for the past few meetings. So one of the areas that we kind of have started to do this was at Centennial Park. In April, we had a tree planting there with Mpca. So where the trees were planted, we just kind of left it natural. Originally, we had mulched it, which I think was helping a bit with the weeds and also kept a clear boundary of the planting. So as you can see, this is kind of before, and now it's definitely, there's some different type of species growing up. The grass is a bit longer, but I think that the creek is really going to benefit from that change.
Good.
Then we also have an update. So I was able to go back and find the notes that you had sent over, Bruce,
Yes.
on reducing mowing. So I am in the progress of actually we're creating an environment webpage for the town. So this will kind of include a few different things, including the idle control bylaw if it's passed, but the plan is to include some of your notes and any other kind of resources about the benefits of reducing mowing.
Excellent.
One other thing.
I just have one comment to make on that.
Yep.
We talked about this a little bit when we decided to do some of the reduced grass cutting, but I did get some complaints from some residents suggesting that the grass was not being cut. And so maybe if we could do some signage or something to make people aware that we are purposely not cutting the grass for environmental reasons or for ecosystem reasons. But there were some people that came to me and said, listen, they're not cutting the grass. Why aren't they cutting the grass? So, I mean, I understand because it's one of our initiatives, but not everybody does. So there might be an opportunity to educate people.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Olivia?
Yeah, that sounds good. Originally, we had some signs up there that were just temporary after the planting, but we should definitely kind of reevaluate and see if we can get some permanent signs up there explaining it. And then I just had a few other items on this topic. So in the previous meeting, we had talked about the 2 pilot areas. So I wanted to just share the images and see if there's any other further discussion on the 2 areas that we talked about last meeting. So the first was the Casablanca Waterfront Park along the slopes. So I think this would be a great one to do a pilot on with the upcoming construction. I think it will be something that we might have to pause until that is finalized and kind of see where we can take it and what's the best approach. But it's great to have it on the radar and something we can bring forward when it comes time.
Thank you, Olivia. Just a little positive comment on the slide that you've got up right now. The slope on the left, which is at the beach to the west of Casablanca, that slope I noticed is no longer being cut. Bravo. The picture on the right is the beach to the east of Casablanca at the very beginning of the trail at the east end. And that slope remains being cut. So I think your last comment is very appropriate in that with the construction going on and the design that this particular area, folks such as yourself, the construction company, designers, are all going to have to look at how this is done in the short term. We've talked about grass cutting since before this committee formed. It was one of the foundations of citizen members who petitioned the town to form this committee. And so I hope that in the long run, that grass cutting, not just in these two spots, but throughout the town, is reviewed very carefully, because again, this sets the stage for how the town communicates with the community about how it feels about the importance of the environment. Because we've all heard about pollinators, monarch butterflies, and Olivia, I don't need to tell you about these things. I think these things are all in your back pocket and overflowing. But we need to tell the citizens of the town. Your previous slide was excellent. I would do one little change. I take that bag off the back of the mower, because the region doesn't transport, does not encourage the collection of grass clippings, but to put them back, leave them on the grass. And Councillor Sharp, you made a very good point about education. And I'm hoping that the town, Let's Talk Grimsby, through signage, can have a dialogue with the community about grass cutting, frequency, and where it is. Because I think the majority of the town cares more about pollinators, butterflies, and wildlife than having the grass cut every Tuesday. There's both sides to the coin, but that's why this committee was put into existence, to polish the green side. I also, because the town has the opportunity of setting the example for the rest of the community, and grass cutting is a big part of the landscape in any urban area. And we all know it comes with the pollution costs, it comes with the water management costs, and it comes with an ecological cost. So we can all work, I think, together in supporting Olivia on the end, and the park staff and public works and planning, because all those departments and procurement, as we have found out, they all work together, or can work together, in greening Grimsby. And in areas where I have worked and experienced where major reductions in grass cutting has taken place, the overall reception of that by the community has been tremendous. But as Councillor Sharp said, as you've said, Councillor Sharp, at the beginning, the communication is important. So thanks for letting me preach. I'm hoping that you can take some of our thoughts and our desires, continue forward, Olivia, with this. And at the end of this committee, I'm only glad to provide whatever input or help I can in there. And so, sorry about that, but is that the end of your presentation at this time, Olivia, or do you have more slides?
I just had the one more slide. This
Good.
is the one that Aaron shared. So it's the corner of Lake Street, Betts Ave, and Fair Avenue.
Yep.
So I did a little more of an investigating of it, and it is owned by the Ministry of Transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So this one would definitely require a bit more communication, but I can start to put some feelers out and see kind of what would be required to kind of work in collaboration with them.
Well, I wish you success with that. I know that in that community, I believe Aaron and Haley both live there. The Grimsby Beach community has some very, very strong active citizens in terms of the ecology and the environment, should I say, at Grimsby Beach. I think you'll find that community supportive of your endeavors there, and I'm hoping that is what you find as well. So good luck with that, and I'm hoping the Ministry of Transportation is supportive of that as well. Okay, any comments or questions from members of the committee on Aaron's presentation? All right. Then thank you for indulging me with speaking before members had the opportunity. I apologize for jumping ahead. Okay, Olivia, tree canopy.
Yes, so I have a few updates on the tree canopy. So one of the items that we've been working on is park asset mapping. So I've been going out to a lot of the parks, so community parks, neighborhood parks, a lot of the green spaces, and then starting to identify trees and doing a very basic assessment of them. It's definitely not my area of expertise, but I think I'm getting better. But at least we're starting to get a bit of an inventory at the park level that we can kind of use to build out a maintenance plan. And then on top of that, the town of Grimsby is excited to announce that we've actually been invited and accepted to be part of the Vineland Research Greening the Landscape Consortium. So I guess we are part of 2 case studies. So we were able to kind of pick which ones we thought might be the most applicable for Grimsby. So the first one is called Best Practices for Tree Establishment and Maintenance. And then the second one is Canopy Climate Readiness. So with those, we're kind of hoping that that can guide us to develop the tree maintenance plan to our standards. And then we can hopefully get that established based on the information we received through the case studies. So we had kind of a shell of document before, but we think that the information we'll be getting from this case study will be beneficial to help us develop the plan moving forward. I think there's a few other municipalities in the area that are also involved, so it'll be really neat to see what comes out of it.
Thank you. And does that conclude your remarks, Olivia?
It does.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions or comments to Olivia on the tree canopy item or any of the other items that Olivia has reported well on tonight?
Yeah, I just have one question, Olivia.
Please go ahead.
It's about the TD Tree Days at Southwood Park. Is there a sign up for that, or can you just show up, or how do people get involved?
So I haven't received the information for that one. So that one's on the 15th. I think they are focusing a bit more on the TD employees, but the one at 40 Mile Creek is on October 1st, and that will be kind of targeted to get community members involved. So closer to the event, I think we'll probably develop a plan to get some volunteers. So I'll make sure to send it to everyone on the committee.
So can you just tell me a little more about the one at 40 Mile Creek? I must have missed that.
Yes. So that will be October 1st from 9 a.m. to noon, and that's in partnership with the Mpca. And they've also received some funding from TD for that planting. So we're planning on doing it kind of in phases. So the first phase is going to be looking at that open space right when you walk into the park. And we're going to try to just naturalize it and see, kind of use it as a pilot to see what can grow and how it handles all the plantings. So we're looking forward to that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp.
On my calendar. Thank you.
I just have a comment too regarding the Mpca. In the past, which I reached out to the Mpca and Carrie Royer, she usually sends out an email that come out all the time with volunteering opportunities. So if anybody in the future would like to be involved in those, they can reach out with the Mpca and get regular emails from them on opportunities when they come up.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, Carrie's very good at that. Okay, on the last item, tree canopy, Olivia, thank you for a report on that. I'm going to go back, if my memory serves me correctly. At our last meeting, we talked about a possible species list or let me correct myself, policies in the town for tree planting, tree maintenance. And I applaud the information you've given us this evening about attending a symposium and starting to look at a broader tree maintenance aspect. But my specific question this evening is species list for replacement or new trees that the Parks Department and Public Works Department is working with. Is there such a list?
So usually what happens, at least I can speak to the parks, is we kind of look at the site and see what would best grow in that area, focusing usually on native species. And then I know there's also the demand for the Carolinian species. So at this current time, I don't know if there's necessarily a list, more just kind of what we've found works in the past. But with Vineland, actually, that is one of the case studies. So focusing on how important it is for species selection and then developing that list. And then also just the maintenance for each specific species. So rather than kind of developing the list now and then it completely changing, once we finish the case study, we're hoping that we can just kind of take what we learned from that. On staff, I don't know, from my understanding, we don't have, I'll say, like a tree expert. So for the most part, it would be kind of doing my research across different websites and trying to find what makes the most sense, but can't really speak to that and be like 100% positive that that's the right option. So I think with the case study, we'll definitely have a better understanding of what works for Grimsby.
Okay. And I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Public Works is working independently of the Parks Department with selection of trees for planting in Grimsby. Is there coordination between the two departments?
Yes, there is coordination. I think definitely we're always trying to do native trees and then same kind of process. But for the most part, I think it kind of is on a case by case basis.
Okay, well, we're at the end of our term now. We've certainly talked about trees over the last 4 years quite a bit. And I hope that going forward, you will find, Olivia, in your office, support for strong coordination of tree species selection. One, they be native trees. Two, the species selected as per the site conditions. You mentioned that. I just wanted to reiterate that point. Lately, in my time in Grimsby, I have seen tree species that non-native tree species that should not be planted, and I have seen species of trees planted in conditions that species should not be planted in. Town of Grimsby is not a large community, but there are experts in the community or consultants available to the town to help you prepare a list with recommendations as to site conditions for those trees. Trees are costly to plant, and they're 100, 200-year investment. And I think I'm probably speaking more to Councillor Sharp here than anybody else, is that every step should be taken to make sure that our investment in trees is carried out properly. And that costs a little more, takes a little more time, but then you've got the right solution. And I hope that with your involvement with the Vinemount Research Station and collaboration with other municipalities, that you can continue to foster a better tree canopy in Grimsby. We all know that the tree canopy in Grimsby is, one, not very high in percentage of ground coverage in this town compared to other towns. It is under threat, and this town does not have a tree bylaw. And I'm hoping that in the next term that Mr. Boyes will be presenting to the next Green Committee a tree bylaw to protect trees there. Thank you for your time, Olivia. I appreciate the time you've put in to help this committee through this term. And I wish you can, on behalf of the committee, continued success in your endeavors. And we'll be watching your progress simply because we're going to be using your parks and trails. We're, you know, the Trails Master Plan. If there was one thing I could clap about, it's that. We'll look forward to seeing how all of this comes about, and best of success with getting this started. Folks, I don't think we have any new business on the plate tonight. We don't have a next meeting. So closing comments from anybody? Yes, Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just have a couple comments to close this up because this is our first term of our Green Committee, and so this is new, and we're getting to see what we can do in the town. And so I just want to say thank you to our members, the members that are here, Brian and Henry, and yourself, Bruce, and also to Haley and Aaron and Carl, who can't be here today. But I don't want to forget about Chantel, Christine, Selby, Sharon, Councillor Bothwell, and Councillor Vane, who were all a part of this during the course of this term. And you know, things come up, and sometimes we have we're not able to complete the terms, but all those people did serve on the committee, and so thank you to all of them. And thank you to you guys who are still here, and we look forward to more terms in the future.
Well, Councillor Sharp, thanks for wrapping that up, and thank you for bringing all those names forward that have been with us in one way or another over the last 4 years. And
just before I forget, also thank you to Olivia and to Sarah and Trevor and a few other staff members. Sorry if I forgot you, but they've been integral in the committee too.
Very, very, very much so. And this committee also worked through 2 years or so of COVID or more, and part of our term didn't exist because the meetings were canceled. And that was a hurdle I don't think that we've gotten over. I don't have regrets. I just look forward to see how things progress with the town and the quality of life that we might be able to add just a little to for the members of our community. So if nobody else has anything else to say, thanks.
I'd just like to
Ryan.
thank everybody too. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody, the town staff, for all their hard work with this, and all the other members and the councillors appreciate it. And hopefully, you know, we did something a little better. If we made it a little better, then it's better than nothing, right?
Right. Yeah. Great. Okay, folks, the mosquitoes have come out. I'm going to say good night.
Night.
Be safe.
Take care.
Night.
Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.